Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on the very hot day that is this Saturday afternoon for the first instalment of our Telegraph Food Festival. So we've got a fantastic lineup this weekend. We've got plenty of recipes, we've got some cocktails, we've got some wine tasting, we've got lots of lovely stuff to be made. My name is Pip Sloan, I'm the assistant food editor. And today I'm going to be joined by Melissa Hemsley. She is a fantastic cookbook author and she's one of our Telegraph columnists.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I think I've seen Kansas, Canada, New Forest. Oh, hello, everybody. Linda in Aberdeenshire, Jennifer in Kent. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm in Cornwall. Welcome, everybody, to a lovely little fisherman's cottage in Cornwall. Hello from Hampshire. Oh, my gosh. Jenny's in Australia.
What time is it there? Unbelievable.
Oh, guys. Well, I do know that us Brits, because I know we're having a really hot one. So yes, thank you for coming in from the heat, and everybody else, welcome too. What a delight. Thank you, Pip, for letting me help you kick off the beginning of the food festival. It's lovely to be here. Richard's in Cornwall too. Nice one, Richard. So everybody, shall I introduce, Pip, what we're doing?
So we're doing a Korean-inspired noodle salad, packed with plenty of veg, lots of substitutions. We've already been talking together about different things that we have been substituting in. We've got some red cabbage, which I've got here. We've got some lettuce. We've got radishes. We've got onions. We've got carrots. We've got plenty of stuff. And a creamy kind of tahini miso dressing.
Exactly. Well, we wanted to do, when Pip and I were planning what to do with you guys today, who could have known it would be a good weekend? It could have gone either way. What I love about this salad, because it's a sort of, it's almost like an afternoon tea type of time right now, right? So for those of you that have already had your lunch, this is going to be so beautiful this evening, perhaps with, you could fry some tofu on top, you could grill some mackerel, you could add it to your barbecue. For those of you that haven't had lunch today, well, good to go. We'll make your lunch with you. Pip, have you had lunch?
I have had lunch, but I'm saving this one for dinner. My boyfriend's on a late shift tonight, so he's going to come home to a massive big bowl full of noodles, which he's going to be very pleased with.
Oh, amazing. Pip's man looking after us all. I've actually already had half a crab sandwich, so I'm saving myself for this. So yes, everybody, this is a Korean inspired noodle salad. I'm saying inspired, it's very loosely inspired. I grew up in Kingston upon Thames and we used to go to church in New Malden, and in New Malden we have so many amazing Korean shops and restaurants, so I sort of picked things up from there, and I've only been to South Korea just the once, so it's a very loosely inspired noodle salad. I don't know if we've got any Korean people here who can tell us a bit more about Korean food, but I love kimchi. I've got my kimchi here. Sadly, obviously, we didn't have enough time to make kimchi together. But I know on the Telegraph website, you've got so many recipes for how to do the proper ferment. And happily, there are loads of great brands out there, especially lots of new brands that have popped up, I think, over the last year and a half. Lots of people have turned back to their food roots or made food their full-time job again, which is awesome to see. So there's 4 main elements to today's cook-along. We have got the miso tahini dressing, which I think you'll love, and hopefully you'll enjoy adding it to lots of things. We've got the main cusp, which is the noodle salad, and that is noodle and loads of veg. I think it was Richard here in Cornwall, couldn't find a red cabbage in Cornwall right now. So I'm actually using cucumber, lots of radishes, carrot. If you guys have got broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, if they're fresh, keep them nice and raw. Otherwise, you could give them a blanch. Maybe people have got some fresh peas, some asparagus, something like that you could add. I've got coriander here too. I'm also going to use the stems, no waste. If you've got mint or anything like that. So that's the noodly veg part. Then I've got walnuts here. My mum always said to me, walnuts look like the brain, good for the old brain. Whatever nuts you guys have got, please go for it. Maybe you've got some mixed nuts that you'd like to use up. We are going to make a sticky, salty glaze nut type thing. It's almost like a savory granola, and we're going to scatter that on our salad, because I think the key to a good salad is a contrast in temperature a contrast in color, a contrast in crunch and hot and sticky and sweet and cooling and lovely. So I was having a little think about why I love this salad and why I think you'll like it too. And it is just that it's got a bit of everything. So no boring salads here. Anyway, we can probably crack on. Oh, and also, again, we don't have enough time to do any proper pickling, but I feel like maybe the last year has been like the year of the pink pickled onion. You know, if in doubt, if you've got some leftovers or if you've got something that you're not that excited and looking forward to eating, throw on something pickled and instantly it just jazzes things up. It gets lively. All right. Oh, I'm out of breath. It's hot. So do shout in the chat if me or Pip can help with anything. We've also got the link to the full recipe. Pip and I, as we say, are cooking along with you. So we're going at a really nice pace. So, you know, pour yourself a glass of wine or whatever you're doing. And I hope you enjoy. Let us know and we'll take pauses to check that everyone's good. And just thank you for being here. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for coming inside for a couple of hours. That's great.
Exactly. I'm going to, so I've got let's kick off with the onion. You can use any color onion. I'm going for red because I think you get a better color. And that's the one I could find. And grab yourself, a jar is good for this. I don't have a jar here, so I'm using a small bowl. Just so it would fit about, chop up an onion and be able to put it in there. So bowl or jar, something like that. In all of my instructions, method, I am going to 100% tell you to chop as comfortable as you like. So please don't worry about any fiddly chopping here. If you're confident with a mandolin, you could slice up your red onion on the mandolin. Go for it if you're confident. I'm going to just slice my red onion in half, and I'm just simply finely slicing into half moon. I've just got my little half moons. As fine as you feel comfortable. Now, of course, I'm fully aware that some people are not onion lovers. So if you're not an onion lover, just go ahead and finely slice your radish. You could do a bit of cucumber at this point. You can even matchstick some ginger and quickly pickle that. So don't feel left out if you're not an onion lover. But I will say, of course, that by giving it a quick pickle over the next 40 minutes as we cook together, you're going to mellow the flavor anyway. If you really want to,
kind of really just kind of goes from it, doesn't it?
Exactly. And if you even wanted to mellow the flavor even further, you could pour some hot water on top and so on. Anyway, I've got about a handful of red onion right now. I'm going to have some friends over later, so I might just chop a bit more. But if you don't need to eat all the red onion now, it's going to be gorgeous all week. You can put it in a sandwich. If you love a frittata, I love a cold slice of frittata is my thing. So a cold slice of frittata, eaten with the fridge door open so you can bask in the fridge air, maybe with some red onions on top.
Yeah.
Lovely, man.
Bit of mayo on the side as well for dipping.
Lovely. Spicy mayo. I've actually got, I think you and Amy might have just put up my picnic Telegraph column, and we've got a manchego frittata in that, haven't we?
Yes. Okay, so I've got a mandolin with me, and I felt brave enough to use it today. So I've mandolin mine. Mine's
awesome.
Small,
you've got a nice bowl. Oh yeah. So you see, pips are super thin, which looks really elegant. But if you're like me and we've just, chopped them like this, it also looks fantastic. There's no wrong way to do this. I'll also say, if you love a raw leek, which I do, a raw leek would be gorgeous in this too. So now, again, my measurements are going to be loose. So don't feel worried about, that's a pokey red onion. Don't feel worried about anything being exact here. I've come from home, so I've just sort of pre-measured out in my reusable tubs. I've got about, I'm going to pour about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar over my onions. You can feel free to put the equivalent of lime juice, lemon juice, orange soaked onions are gorgeous. If anyone's got rice wine vinegar, feel free. I haven't tried it with balsamic vinegar, but I can't think how it wouldn't go wrong. It'd be slightly different, but still the same.
Anything with a bit of acid to it.
Exactly. So I'm putting about a tablespoon and a half to 2. I'm saving a little bit of my apple cider vinegar back for something else in a secchi, but also you can include your lemon and lime. And then what we want to do is a generous pinch of sea salt. And red onions are pretty sweet anyway. Apple cider vinegar has got the sweetness from apple. My mother's from the Philippines, so I've grown up with sour flavor, so I love tang. If you're not quite so sure, then add a little bit of maple syrup, just like a teaspoon, or you could sprinkle in a little bit of sugar or something like that. So that was your onion or whatever you want to pickle, about a tablespoon and a half to 2 of vinegar, a little bit of maple syrup or sugar, and a generous pinch of salt. And then you can just sort of do a little bit of scrunching. If you don't want to get hand involved, which is totally fine, you can just do this with a fork. And all that lovely vinegar, of course, we're not going to waste. We can add that to other things if we eat it separately. But you'll just make basically creating a super quick pickle. And you can add chili, you can add mustard seeds, you can add all sorts of things. So make sure it's coated. And then set it aside, and maybe every 10 minutes we'll give it a little stir. Just with my hands.
And Melissa, if you've got leftovers of that, how long do you reckon that will keep in the fridge? Do you think it will just keep for a couple of days if you want to add it into other things?
Well, that's why I love a reusable jam jar, because it keeps things tight in there, doesn't it? I think in my experience, if you don't double dip, I keep mine for about a week, and I'm sure you can go longer, but I prefer to keep them a week because after a week they get less crunchy and they're still lovely. But I think a week for me is it. Okay, so we've done our first part. We've done some quick pickling. Excellent. Maybe you've done cucumber or radish or something else. Next up, what are we doing? We're going to make the dressing now. So this is probably our most involved part in terms of ingredients. So do shout if we can help with any substitutions. You should have in front of you some miso paste. We're going to, I'm using white, but I've also got red. White miso paste tends to be, you've got white. White tends to be a bit sweeter, which is lovely. If you're using brown or red, maybe start with about a tablespoon. I think us with white miso paste, we should go for about a tablespoon and a half. We're going to include ginger, which I would say is one of my desert island ingredients, because I love it. Oh, ginger lemonade for right now. Why have I not made it like that?
Need it right now. A nice ginger beer is my go-to summer, I think.
Yeah. Well, this is
orange juice or ginger beer and apple juice is just perfect, I think.
Oh, stop. A ginger Pimm's. Has anyone done that? Maybe I'll do that for a future column.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll get some ginger involved. We'll put a garlic clove in there. Another tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, or again, feel free to use lemon or lime. Tahini paste, sesame seed paste, the key ingredient of hummus, and also I would say the ingredient of 2021, perhaps. Tahini in cookies is so fantastic too. If you guys don't have tahini, don't fret. You could use peanut butter or almond butter, or any of the nut butters would be great. Ideally a smooth one, but crunchy's fine too. Doesn't matter. We've got some extra virgin olive oil. We'll add water, and we're going to add as we go, because people's tahini paste are going to be different thicknesses and your miso paste are going to be different from mine. A little bit of maple syrup and a bit of tamari, which is a gluten-free soy or soy sauce or salt. So that's what you should have in front of you. And if you don't, please do say hello in the chat box and we'll see if we can come up with something for you. You want about 2 centimeters of ginger. If your ginger, if I know my ginger's organic, I actually don't bother peeling it. This one's not. Do you know the spoon trick? Do you know the spoon trick, Pip, where you just run? Yeah, grab yourself a teaspoon. Yeah,
it's easier than you think it's going to be.
Yeah,
and so much of it.
And it just means you just don't waste tons of ginger, because all the lovely flavor and the fieriness is, of course, just under the skin. Well, it's throughout. But there's no need. Oh, and it just smells so good. So just run your teaspoon around and you'll just see it completely flakes off. Set that aside. And then we're going to want to grate about 2 teaspoons. Again, ginger can be so different and vary in levels. So I'm sort of just going to, this dressing is all about tasting as you go along. Greetings from Chevy Chase, Maryland. That sounds like an awesome place. Ginger Pimm's sounds perfect. Oh, okay.
You're getting some fans of this. You're going to have to do it in your next column, I think.
Hi from the Costa del Sol. I wonder if the UK is hotter than the Costa del Sol. Oh, it's so lovely that you're all here. I wonder who's cooking and who's just watching. Let us know what you're doing.
This is what I would love to know how many people are actually joining us and cooking along with us. So if anyone wants to tell us, if you're cooking along or just watching, then let us know.
Yeah. And if you're not cooking, hopefully we're going to convince you by the end of it that this is a must-do recipe. Okay, get yourself another bowl. We're going to put the dressing in here or a jar. Grab your ginger that you sort of peeled. Linda's going to cook it tomorrow. Yes, because Pip, we're saving this, aren't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is going to be up on YouTube tomorrow. So if you want to cook along with us again tomorrow, then we're there. So you can cook along with the recipe and with us as well. Okay,
Pip and gang, I'm just finely grating my ginger. I've used about I'm going to use about 2 centimeters. So I'm going to end up with about a teaspoon of pulp. Now I've got another little ginger trick for you. I personally don't mind bits of ginger. By bits, I mean that's what's happening. I want to show you a trick if you do mind bits, and that's totally okay because I know that texture is a really important thing for all of us when we're cooking. So if I just show you what I mean. Now I've got here about, let's say I've got about a teaspoon of ginger. Here's a little trick, and this is only if you're bothered by bits. So I gather up my ginger, okay? I've gathered it up. You do need a bit more than this, really, but I don't want to waste it. So, and then squeeze it. Can you see that coming out?
Ooh, okay.
So that's going to give me an amazing ginger concentrate. And all the gang that said that they want to try ginger pims, this is how you can do it. You grate a load of ginger, you squeeze it. You can, I've seen Nigella do it through a muslin cloth, but I feel like
fingers are fine. I think fingers is okay.
Fingers is fine. Anyway, again, I don't mind my bits, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wash my gingery hands, but if you are, then do it. So, Pip, we've got about 1 centimetre, I'd say, of ginger pulp there.
Yep, I've got my ginger pulp in the bowl here.
And, my friends, let's just see how we go flavour-wise. So I've got my ginger. Let's then peel a garlic clove. And going back to what we said about onions, and I know that some people aren't a fan of too much raw allium, so too much raw onion, too much raw garlic. Again, go for your life, do what you want. I've got my garlic clove. I'm going to grate in about half a garlic. But again, do what you like.
The longer it sits, the more it mellows as well anyway. So if you're not, going to eat it straight away, do you think you can afford to go a bit more on the garlic and see it kind of mellow out a bit?
Well, it's so funny. Sometimes things taste more garlicky afterwards, and sometimes they mellow. I would remember. I would just, if you're not sure about raw garlic, leave it out entirely. Are you cooking with Romy later? Is she on this afternoon? Romy Gill is cooking later. If anyone signed up for Romy, and Romy taught me how it's always great to have garlic granules and garlic powder in the kitchen if you can't be bothered to have raw garlic all the time. So I would say as well, if you don't want to get your garlic out for just a little bit, you can add some. So this is a pretty dry dressing as of now. It's garlic and it's ginger. What's next? Where's my notes? Okay, and now we can add everything else. So remember we talked about the different miso pastes. I've just built my tahini. Let's take, I'm going to go for, this is a teaspoon. So that's about a tablespoon of tahini paste. Put that in. Sorry, I don't want to sound like anyone's mum, but don't double dip in your miso paste because it's a really, you've probably got live meat, unpasteurized miso. So it's one of those things that it's an expensive ingredient. You want to make sure there's no double dipping because you don't want it to go off. Sorry, I do feel like my mother saying that, but I'm reading myself. I've got a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar or lemon or lime. Romy's on tomorrow. Excellent. Wendy Harris, I've received the recipe for a session tomorrow, but not for this. No worries. Wendy, 1 second, and we are going to put it up for you. Oh, I see we have. So it's just there, Wendy. Join in. Join in, Wendy. You can do it. Here we go.
While knitting. That's fantastic.
Say again?
David is watching whilst he's knitting.
Go on, David. What are you knitting? Is it a scarf? I'm getting distracted. This is great. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar or lemon or lime. So we've got ginger, garlic, miso paste. The apple cider vinegar, of course, is adding some liquid. Let's add, what have we got here? We have got 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. Guys, I'm free pouring.
We have one quick question about maple syrup. Can you substitute it with honey if you haven't got any maple?
Please do. Please do. So that's about 2 teaspoons of maple syrup or your honey. I'm just starting to stir it, really. I'm just going to try and not splash my boyfriend's laptop. So that's garlic, ginger, miso paste, apple cider vinegar, tiny bit of maple syrup or honey or sugar. What else have we got in here? Now we've got our tahini. I told you that I've pre-measured my tahini. I've already spilt it as well because I traveled. If you're doing your tahini in a jar, stir it, because even mine here, you'll see that it really separates solid and oil, and you want both. So stir it super well. And get it in there. If you're, I think because it's such a hot day that it won't be, but if you make this again, I always put my spoon under hot water and then dig in. So I'm going to now add about 2 tablespoons of tahini. My tahini, yeah, is pretty runny today, which I'm only noting because we are going to add water in a minute. So I'm going to add less water. If anyone didn't have tahini or maybe bought it but is thinking, I'm not sure I'm going to like this, you can add peanut butter or anything else. So that's tahini getting added in. Where am I? Miso paste, ginger, garlic, apple cider vinegar, tahini. Now let's add a few teaspoons of tamari or soy or salt or fish sauce would be delicious. Hello, everybody. I couldn't get tahini anywhere. The girl in Sainsbury's said I was the 6th person to ask for it and wondered what was going on. Karen, that's brilliant. Karen, do it tomorrow with peanut butter. Excellent. Alexandra, any alternatives to miso? Not madly keen. Don't worry about it, Alexandra. Leave it out. Leave it out. The miso is adding sweetness and saltiness, Alexandra. So up your maple syrup and up your saltiness. Can you use brown sauce to replace tahini? No, but you know what? Brown sauce does have that amazing umami flavor. A little squeeze of brown sauce, I'm sure, can't hurt it. What we want to replace though, if you don't have the tahini, is the tahini's giving it creaminess and body. Oh, and also, who was it? Linda. Was it you, Linda, that said you couldn't find tahini? I mean, you probably can't be bothered to do it now, fair play, because it's hot and we're in the middle of it. But if you ever wanted to, all you need to do is just blitz up some sesame seeds in your food processor, and that tahini is sesame seed paste. So just in the future for a recipe, if you fancied it. So we've answered the questions for anyone that wasn't keen on miso, great. Anyone that didn't have tahini, I think we've answered. And anyone that wanted an alternative for sweetness, go for it, whatever your favorite sweetener is. Now, this is pretty gloopy and great. This would be amazing coated on aubergine and put on the barbecue, by the way. Or if anyone loves corn on the cob, I know just butter on corn on the cob can never be beaten, but just in case, something like this would be amazing. Let's get some oil. I've got some extra virgin olive oil here. I'm just going to add a couple of tablespoons because we want to loosen it up because it's super full flavored. And then I just want to add about a tablespoon of water to thin it out a little bit. And let's stir it. Now I've got quite a small bowl, which is probably a silly idea. So I'm just stirring quite gently. If you've got a big bowl and a whisk, go for your life. So I can smell that glorious zingy ginger. Got my garlic in there. I've got the saltiness from the miso, the umami from the miso, the tamari, the soy. Oh, how did you guys get on with buying some kimchi? For those of you that struggle with tahini. If you didn't have kimchi, do you know what would be lovely now? Get a little squirt of your favorite chili sauce in here, or you could add it at the end, or a few chili flakes. What's that, Pip?
I didn't manage to get hold of kimchi, but I've got plenty of hot sauce in my cupboard. So I'm going to use hot sauce then and add a bit of that to it.
Well, I'll tell you what, before anyone adds anything, let's have a little taste and see what you think. Oh, you found some in the end, Karen. Brilliant. Okay, let's have a little taste. Wow. Have a little bit because obviously it's super concentrated and delicious. So what are we looking for here? Balancing flavors. If you're not sure you love that. So we're thinking, is it sweet enough? So let's up our maple syrup. Is it salty enough? Does it want a bit more miso? The white miso is going to add sweetness and umami. Could we add a bit more ginger? I actually think I will add a bit more ginger because I love ginger. I'm going to do one more grate of ginger. Mine's still like thickness wise. How does yours, Pip? I'm going to add one more tablespoon of water just for my personal preference.
Oh, I don't know if you can see me. But mine, I'd say, is the kind of consistency of, it's kind of like double cream, I guess I'd say.
I'd say the same. That's a great description. We can see why she's a food editor. It's a great description. And you see how the bits of ginger, you really don't need to worry about them right now. So this is great. This is full flavored and lovely. But, oh, Felicity doesn't really like kimchi. Anything's too hot. Felicity, if you love fermented food, and I'm a big fan, you could buy some sauerkraut, which is also fermented cabbage. If you're not a fan of anything like that, then I think you're going to find enough interest in all the other things that we're going to put on top that hopefully you won't feel like you've missed it. I know what you mean about spice. I've got lots of friends that aren't keen on heat. You could just get some pepper into your sauce right now. And also, interestingly, I don't know if anyone knows much about chili. The older I'm getting, the more I like things cooler. I'm also not a big fan of too much heat these days. Okay, guys, let's leave this for a second because what I want to do now is suggest that you get a pan of boiling water on for your noodles. Whether you like to boil your water in a pot or get your kettle on, go and do that now. I actually got to confess, because I'm just not used to this kitchen, I've just cooked my noodles already, but we've got plenty of time to cook noodles together. So get a pan of boiling water on. I know Pip is. And I'll talk you through what noodles I've got. This works with any noodles. Actually, let me make sure I say this right. You know how I said this was a Korean-inspired noodle salad? The name is Bim Bim Guksu. That's the one I've had before in Korea. And if you haven't heard of Bim Bim Guksu, which means mixed noodles, you might have heard of bibimbap, which is mixed rice. Yeah. So if you didn't fancy making this with noodles, or if you're like, oh gosh, it's really hot, I don't fancy putting a pan of boiling water on, has anyone got any cold rice that they could use in the salad instead or something like that? Quinoa would be gorgeous. Buckwheat would be lovely. So Pip, you've got a pan of hot water on the go now, haven't you?
I've got a pan of hot water. It is just about to boil. So I'm nearly ready for my noodles to go on.
Let's stay hydrated, everyone. Quick water break.
Quick water break. Yeah, it is boiling today. I've got both my windows open and I'm still sweating. And we're not even cooking yet. But it's okay because we're not cooking much today, so that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Oh, Felicity, Aleppo chili is my favorite. Get some Aleppo in that. And if you want, Felicity, add it just at the end as well. Oh, you've got some gorgeous mild chilies there. Really nice. Aleppo chili, beautiful. Okay, so like I said, I'm not cooking the noodles right now, but we've got plenty of time to cook noodles. Pip's cooking her noodles. I'll just tell you, my noodles, there's so many great noodle brands out there now. I love soba noodles, buckwheat noodles for this. I really like King Soba brand. I like Clear Spring. This one is called Akaji, but I've just noticed it's got wheat in it. So soba noodles tend to be fully buckwheat, but this one does have wheat in it. So I'm only flagging because actually I've got a celiac friend coming later, so she can't have this. So I need to think on my feet and come up with something else for her. I think I'll put some quinoa.
If you're looking for a good gluten-free one, because my boyfriend's celiac, I've got this one, and it is King Soba, millet and brown rice, and that one is gluten-free and looks really good. So I'm going to put mine in now.
And Pip probably knows this brand. I do feel with a lot of brands, gluten-free brands, and this is not a gluten-free flour, this is because it's buckwheat, which is naturally gluten-free. I do feel key thing, like with spaghetti, you want to cook it in a lot of water. And also what I like to do, which is why I slightly cheated, just so I could make sure I was concentrating for you, I get 2 forks out. Do you do this, Pip? And I just separate them a bit at the beginning. It tends to help them not stick.
Yeah. So definitely.
I sort of plonk them in the boiling water and then I do a little bit of this for a bit.
Is all boiling and ready, so I'm going to put my noodles in now.
There she goes. And of course, if you guys have got rice noodles or any of those like soak noodles, here's my beautiful noodles here. What I did was as soon as they were just al dente, not a Korean word, obviously that's the Italian word for spaghetti. I bet you there's a Korean version, you know, like to the bite. I cooled them under cold water, and then what I did was, I almost could eat them just now. I tossed them in a little bit of olive oil just to stop them sticking. But I don't know if you can see what a gorgeous color they are. They're nutty brown. And even if you're not celiac, even if you don't have gluten sensitivities, soba is beautiful. You probably had it in Japanese cooking before and so on. So I've got mine here. And also this is something you could definitely do the day before if you were making this salad in advance. So just to confirm, as you're away cooking your noodles, this would be lovely with cold rice. This would be great with quinoa. I'm just having a little check-in with my onions, giving them a little stir just while
I do mine with crunch as well.
They're smelling great. I think adding that little bit of maple syrup just adds, it just balances out the tang. I'm really happy with my miso dressing. Pip, were you happy with yours on first go, or did you adjust it?
I really liked mine on first go. I thought it was perfect.
Awesome. Let us know, everyone, if you want to have any tips on how to adjust the miso. If you feel like, oh, it's delicious, but I'm not loving it as much as these two seem to. I'll say that, just go through your ingredients and think, what could I do a bit more with? So for me, it tends to be the saltiness factor, which you can amp up with the miso, or you can amp up with the tamari. I find the maple syrup addition, bringing the sweet in, is great. And then, of course, it's a personal preference for thickness-wise and thinness-wise, which you can add a bit more water and so on. So I'm conscious that I don't want to be talking too much while also people are concentrating on their noodles, because I know that we'll all have different cooking times for our noodles. But for anyone that is having a little think about what's coming up next, all we need to do now is a little bit of relaxing chopping. So I would just push everything on your board to the side. And I've got, as I say, cucumber, carrot, radish, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to matchstick julienne my cucumber, I'm going to julienne my carrots, I'm going to julienne my radish. I might slice some into circles, and my coriander is so lovely. I'm sort of just going to tear it and toss it in at the end. So if you've got a moment, you can just start chopping. Or grating, or Pip's probably on the mandolin, to be honest, I bet, because she's got her mandolin out. And then the final thing we can do, I might just wait till you've all got your noodles ready to go. Pip can tell me when she's got her noodles ready to go, but if you want to make sure you've got some walnuts ready to go, mine are sort of those halved walnuts. I don't know if anyone is out there having to crack some walnuts to get to this point, but get your walnuts ready. Would be amazing with peanuts, cashews, seeds, whatever you like. I'm actually going to use walnuts, and I've got some black sesame seeds, but black and white sesame seeds together would be great. The reason my sesame seeds aren't in my pan yet is because the walnuts are going to need a bit of extra time before the sesame seeds go on. So that's all we're going to do next. We're going to finish off our noodles. I want to make sure that you aren't trying to balance around hot boiling water at the same time. And then we're going to do our nuts, and then we're going to chop our veg. How's it going? How's everyone doing? Let me see in the chat box. Yes, Romy is on tomorrow at 6:30. She's got the Sunday sesh. This is our Saturday sesh. Okay. Pip, I can't see Pip at the moment. She is probably draining her noodles, so that's great. So what I might do now, oh, sorry folks, sod's law, the internet goes right. Noodles are really ready. Don't worry, Pip, if you can hear us and see us, that's great. We'll crack on without you. So for those of you, whatever noodles you've got, I do feel all noodles will benefit from a cold rinse, so they stop cooking, because obviously noodles carry on cooking, same with rice and everything. So give your noodles a really good cold rinse. Pip, she's up.
I'm back.
Cold rinse. You're back.
We're pretty much ready, I think.
Awesome.
30 seconds, and then I'm going to drain them.
Perfect. She's going to do a cold drain. And then what you want to do is get a bowl nearby, Pip, and this could be your serving platter. And then whenever you anyone's cold rinse their noodles, what they can do is sort of shake them a bit so all the excess liquid comes off. Because obviously we don't want soggy noodles, or it will dilute our dressing. So cold rinse your noodles, shake them off, get them into your platter, and just give about 2 teaspoons of olive oil a swirl to stop them sticking. And what I'll just say next is, what we can do then, seeing as everyone's at the hob already, shall we get our hobs on, or just replace put your pan on where your noodles were cooking. And all we're doing here is, let me just check I know how to use this hob. All we're doing here is get your walnuts on a medium-high heat. Let me check you
Noodles
can see.
off now.
Brilliant. Cold rinse for the old noodles. And then what nuts are you using? Yep, you got walnuts?
Yep, I've got a pack of walnuts with me.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll wait for Pip and everyone because there's no rush, but get your nuts ready. And then what we're going to do with our nuts is, I think I've suggested in the recipe to have about a tablespoon of coconut oil. I've lost my coconut oil here, but a tablespoon of any oil or ghee is great. We just want something rich to coat them. So give your noodles, give your walnuts a little toast. What you can also do is, I say, I've got halved walnuts here, but you can, like some of mine are broken in the pack, so they've sort of scattered a little bit, which is great. So they're toasting. Obviously, we'll keep a big eye on them because we know what it's like. Nuts can just turn before your very eyes. Susan pickled some walnuts last year. Susan, that is brilliant. Could I use them instead of the kimchi? I love it. I wish I had done that. Susan, tell us how you pickled walnuts. That's brilliant. So Susan wins today's. There's no competition today, but Susan's just won with that. That is an amazing idea. So I've got my walnuts toasting. What are we doing next? We are getting some maple syrup ready. Again, whoever asked about honey, you can definitely do that. So all we're going to do here is, right, if we toasted some walnuts and put them on top of the salad, they'd be delicious. We all know that toasted nuts are brilliant. But what we're actually going to do is make them even more delicious by adding a tiny bit of sweetness, and we're going to add a little bit of saltiness. So you can use obviously sea salt, or if you've got any tamari or soy left, I've got about half a teaspoon of tamari or soy left, and about how much? About 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. So very small amounts of sweet and saltiness. Felicity could definitely do a sprinkle of her Aleppo chili on these nuts. Anyone else can do a little sprinkle of chili. But anyway, I can smell my walnuts. I'm giving them a little toast. And they smell fantastic. I'm going to give them another minute, and then I'm going to add my sesame seeds. So if you don't have walnuts and sesame seeds, use any nuts and any of your favorite seeds. I had some pumpkin seeds as well, but I'm actually going to save them for breakfast. So give the walnuts a head start because I think they can take it. Oh, and if anyone's got, I was clearing my cupboard out last month, and I have so much desiccated coconut. Because you know, you buy a big batch of desiccated coconut and then forget about it. This desiccated coconut, I thought what to do with it. So I toasted some desiccated coconut and I added it to this recipe. So in case anyone else has a lot of coconut they don't know what to deal with, do that. Right, walnuts toasting, smelling excellent. Let's get, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but I'm gonna get 2 teaspoons, can you hear that? Of my maple syrup, the last bit, my nothingness of tamari. I'm going to put a pinch of sea salt. If you had more tamari or soy, you could add that in. So that's your nuts, Pip, with a bit of maple syrup and a bit of salt. And then I'm going to add a bit of olive oil. So that's about 2 teaspoons of everything, really. I've got olive oil here. You might have coconut oil, Pip. And all we're doing is giving our nuts a little extra bathe in sweet and saltiness. So tiny bit of maple syrup, a teaspoon or 2, teaspoon or 2 of tamari. I barely had tamari, so I just added a pinch of sea salt and the oil. And you'll hear it just get absolutely delicious. I mean, if I hold it here, you can't really see much, but you can see that it's bubbling. Keep a close eye on it. And then I'm just going to add a handful of sesame seeds as well. But that's only when I've added all my other bits. How's everyone doing?
It's smelling good. It's smelling really good.
Smelling really good. And I do like to do a big batch of this. You can obviously do this in the oven as well. But who wants to put the oven on today? Not us. So the only thing you need to watch out for is just making sure that your pan isn't so hot that your maple syrup, or your honey honey probably would be more likely to burn. So keep it relatively low.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to show you how mine looks. And it's just, the maple syrup just beautifully coated it. I'm actually going to try one now, and just be careful because obviously they're super hot. Wow. I'm going to be Saturday afternoon vibe and just add another half a teaspoon of maple syrup. Can you hear that? And I'm going to add another pinch of salt because I feel like walnuts can taste very walnutty. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like cashews can taste very different very quickly, whereas walnuts really hang on to their walnuttiness. Yeah. So I've just added
strong flavors as well, so you can really make it quite punchy.
Yes, very punchy. So Pip, I just added that tiny bit of extra maple syrup and salt. And then importantly, I've taken it off the heat because of course if I leave it off the heat, it's going to carry on. And I'm really happy with that. And we've only got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to just set that aside. Lisa, sorry for pronouncing it. Lisa is now back on. Excellent. Welcome back. Okay. So all we need to do now is, thanks, Kathleen. Kathleen says, thanks for your very enthusiastic cooking lesson. Excellent. Thank you, Kathleen. That's lovely. All we need to do now in the last 5 minutes is chop our veg, the easiest part. So, Pip, did you say you were going to do a bit of mandolining?
Yep, I'm going to get my mandolin back out. I've got a little safeguard just because they're dangerous and quite scary.
Yeah, I agree. I'm often asked if people recommend getting a mandolin, and I just think if you're confident with it, they're fantastic. And if you're not, you can do just as good a job with the grater blade of a food processor, with a grater, or just by hand. I'm going to do it by hand. I'm very happy to do it by hand. I'm not sure what plates you've all got, but if you have a nice big platter, you could start chopping your veg onto your platter. Or if you're like me, we can just sort of chop as we go. So I'm sort of setting my herbs aside for 1 second because I'm not going to use them yet. And I'm simply just going to start chopping. I said I might mandolin my radish. I'm actually going to finally slice my radish. Can you see? I'm over here. Okay. Wow, my hob is hot, even though it's off. Wow. Shout out to all the chefs cooking right now for everybody, hey, in this heat wave. That is, I bet it's busy and hot in the kitchen today. So I love radish. I'm finally slicing my radish. I'm going to, what's the quickest way to do this? I'm just going to matchstick my carrots. You could roughly grate them if you fancy. I just want to have everything thin enough so that I can sort of be lazy and just eat this with a fork. I do not want a knife out today. I'm not into, I want to eat this maybe on my front porch in my Cornish cottage with just a fork.
Have you got a view of the sea, Melissa?
I do. I do have a view of the sea. I do. Cucumber-wise, I don't want to waste anything, but I'm not going to eat this right now. So what I'm going to do is I've opened up my cucumber and I'm just going to scoop out my seeds. Now, you don't want to see me eat on screen, but I will just set them aside and munch on them later. I know we've all been talking about Pimm's non-stop today. Into a jug of Pimm's since you've all got me in the mood. So I'm just taking out the juicy parts because it's just going to make my salad a bit, it's not going to be the end of the world, but I might as well add it to my Pimm's. Maybe I'll make a little gin and tonic afterwards. How's everyone getting up? Radish. Oh, and also, Alexandra, yes, radish. We could easily add the radish to our pickled onions. So Pip's just finally mandolining. I'm just sort of doing half moons.
Yeah, I've just finished with my red cabbage. So this is what my red cabbage is looking like. And I've dumped it into my big old bowl with my noodles, ready to mix later.
Great shout, Pip. And here's what I've got, everyone. I've got finely sliced radish. I've got half-mooned cucumber, and I've got sort of thick and rustic-looking carrots.
Lovely.
So I'm portion size wise, and I know if you've got a red cabbage is the best because it's the gift that keeps on giving. You feel like you can get about 10 meals out of a red cabbage. So sometimes it's hard to know.
This is the question I was going to ask: is what other things do you do with your red cabbage? Because I always find that I have about 3 recipes up my sleeve, and from then on, I'm having to just kind of shovel it into everything I can.
Yes.
To get rid of it.
Pip, do you ever grill or roast or barbecue your cabbage? I love doing that.
I've done it with a hispy cabbage before, but I've never done that with a red cabbage.
Yes, Do it with a red cabbage. Another thing, this is not my idea. I've stolen it off someone and I can't remember who I stole it off. I saw someone barbecue big chunks of red cabbage, and then they chopped it when it was cool enough to handle, and then they put it into a coleslaw. Can you imagine how delicious that was? So it had all that charred sweetness at the edges. Yeah. It was like a cooked coleslaw, but of course they didn't add all the mayo and the creaminess, whatever they did, till later, so that it stayed fresh. So veg-wise, guys, I would allow about 2 handfuls of veg per person. So I've got, and I've got my radish, and I've got my carrots and my cucumber. We also suggested crunchy cos, didn't we? So just roughly slice that. What else did we say? I think it's just
half an iceberg lettuce as well that was just kind of lying around.
Now, iceberg lettuce is a great shout, because I don't think that iceberg lettuce is boring. I think it's brilliant, and it is going to add such a great texture to this salad.
It's such a good cheap one as well. It's so it's just so versatile.
It is. Would anyone like to join me in tasting a walnut? Wow, sweet and salty. I was just checking if it needed extra seasoning. 2 more minutes and then we'll plate up, guys, shall we? Are you going to be ready in 2 minutes, Pip? I think she will be. So all we need to do now is, we've got our pickled red onions, we've got our dressing, we have got our veg, we cooked our noodles. So all we need to do now is, if you haven't already, select a lovely big platter. Now, it's the one thing I don't really have here is a lovely big platter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a big bowl. I'm going to mix it in a big... Oh, I've got a gigantic baking bowl. So this is what I'm doing. What am I doing? Where's my noodles? It's really funny cooking in someone else's kitchen, isn't it? Okay, here's what I've got here. So I said I wanted about 2 handfuls of veg per person. I'm tossing my veg in. So there goes my veg, and I'm going to supplement that with a bit more in a minute. Then I'm going to take my noodles, and you'll agree that tossing them with oil is probably a good shout, because they do get a bit claggy. They'll soon loosen up. So there goes my noodles. So that's what I've got in my big bowl already. What can I add now? Let's start adding some dressing. I'm looking at my, obviously we'd stepped away from our dressing about 5 minutes ago, so it's thickened up. So you can always loosen it up a bit more, but don't forget, when you add your veg, it's going to add moisture. So let's say I'm going to add about, that was 3 tablespoons, I'd say, of dressing. Right. I don't have any tongs here, but if you did, you could use them. And I'm just going to sort of toss things together. Now, the thing about noodles is they tend to stay. Noodles tend to want to stay with each other, so you can just sort of make sure they break up together. And then let's get some herbs involved. I'm going to add about half my herbs now, because I want to save some for garnishing. I love tearing my stems in. If you're not as keen on the coriander stems as the leaves, then finally chop your coriander stems, because there's so much flavor in the coriander stems, but you could finally chop them, but I'm just going to tear them in. So that's already looking gorgeous. Let's get my big plate. And I'm just going to put up, and this is when everything else comes into play. I also want to remind you that you've got this amazing sweet, vinegary, salty liquid at the bottom of your...
Oh, yeah. So just pour all that in.
Well, but you know what I would do, Pip? You obviously love sour like me, but for anyone else, taste it first. And if you want more tang, add it, but see how you go. And I'm just going to now plate this up. So you know how I keep saying I've just had half a crab sandwich and I'm going to wait for my friends? I don't think I am at this point. I think I'm just going to go for it. So let's get in here. How are we going to be able to see everyone's pictures? Pip, is everyone going to take a picture of their food and tag us on social media, or are they going to...
Oh, that's a good idea. Why not? Yeah, tag us with your salad. Tag us to show us what you made.
So everybody's tags are Telegraph Food. I'm at Melissa.Hemsley. Don't tag Melissa Hemsley, because that's not me. It's someone else, and she does get annoyed. She was always forwarding me messages. She doesn't get annoyed. She's lovely. She does get annoyed. She's probably going to get messages going, here's the Korean salad. She won't know, but maybe. So here's how I'm looking so far. Beautiful, fresh and glorious. Now, of course, it's going to be delicious just like this, but I'm going to do a last swirl of my dressing because I know that this is lip-smackingly good and I know I want more of it. I'm going to get some of my, if you come to your walnuts now they've cooled for 5 minutes, do you feel how they're just really crisped up? Can you hear it?
Oh, yeah.
They've crisped up as they've cooled. How great would this be?
As well.
With, you know, serve these with some olives as a canapé for a party. Maybe do them in individual portions to be COVID secure. But, you know, let's get some of them on top. And if you wanted to, if you just love your sesame seeds and feel like you didn't add enough at the beginning, I'm going to add them now. And then, Pip, we've just got our red onions. I'm going to just add mine in here. And then for those of us that are adding kimchi, now is a great time to add our kimchi. But in a way, it almost doesn't need it, but the kimchi is going to make it tastier. I just want to say that for anyone who didn't manage to find kimchi, you're not missing out because you've got the tang, you've got all the delicious flavor, and you're not going to miss out. But if you do get a chance to find some kimchi, please do add it. And then I'm going to add my last sprigs of coriander to finish. And then I'm going to hold mine up and then we'll take a look at Pip's as well. How that goes.
Right behind you. Hang on. I'm
just going to show, while we wait for Pip, no rush, Pip. You've got your beautiful soba noodles. You've got I've got my carrots, my cucumber, my carrot. I've got my crispy walnuts. I just want to show up my walnuts one more time because I'm just so pleased with them. Sticky, salty walnuts. Then we've got our pickled red onions that I'm going to transfer to a glass. And then I can keep them and add them to all of my sandwiches and barbecues and maybe huevos rancheros for breakfast. I've got some coriander on top. Might as well get my kimchi on. So since I bought it all the way from East London.
Ready to show off my salad.
Let's see Pips.
There we go. This is what we've got. Looking pretty good.
Oh, beautiful, Pip. Oh, that's a great bowl. That is such a great bowl.
Enough for about 6, I'd say.
I'd say 4. You say 6. Pip, are you going to have a mouthful? Shall we dig in? Let's see. I'd love, for those of you that are cooking, please tell us how you're enjoying it. Gosh, there's no elegant way.
Walnuts.
Oh my gosh, that's delicious. The tahini, for those that couldn't get tahini, like we say, you'll love it with the nut butter, but tahini's just got that special, that sesame seed flavor. Also, I didn't want to make the ingredients list too long, but a bit of toasted sesame oil in this would be great too. Wendy, yes, a vegan delight. Yes, it's plant-based. And I would say for anyone that is cooking for people that aren't plant-based, they won't miss anything because we've got so much great texture. Also, if you ever wanted to, I mean, I know we're coming into summer now. If you ever wanted to warm it up for summer, you could roast some squash or some carrots or roast one element of the dish. You could roast the red cabbage part, couldn't you, Pip? Yeah. And toss it through. But this is going to be lovely chilled tomorrow. And it is just perfect now. Pip, what do you think? Does this have to kick off the Telegraph Food Festival today?
Oh, it's the perfect way to kick it off. It's brilliant. And I've got so many good leftovers. I've got so many good, I've got more pickled onions that I can add to things later. I'm going to snack on the walnuts later. It's great.
You like how they're salty and sweet?
Oh, completely. I think I would even put them in sweet things as well because I just love the salty sweet, salted caramel and stuff. So, on a cheesecake or something, put it on a vanilla cheesecake. Wow. I think it would be delicious.
Pip, I've put them on a parsnip, chai and carrot cake before.
Oh, that's great.
Pip, did you end up adding all your dressing or did you have some spare left?
I chucked all mine in.
Brilliant. Love it. So you clearly liked it. Okay. Oh, Pip, thank you so much, everyone. This has been great fun and a lovely highlight of my holiday. Thanks, everybody.